Recorded in progress. So tonight we're gonna have Colleen and Yvonne doing the talk. And you guys know it's always open. So yeah, it's just us here on Zoom. And we will have tonight's meeting via Zoom and next week again via Zoom due to 2 weeks stage 2 lockdown. Even though we are able to open the center with more space between people, you know, we understand people would rather be safe and avoiding things that, not that the center is not necessary, but it's something that we can still catch up via Zoom. Even though we love to be there in person and we miss a lot, we thought would be wise to, you know, stay home for the 2 weeks, wait for the test to be done with the cases that we have in the community. So yeah, so this week, next week via Zoom, and then after next week's meeting, we're gonna see what's the news with the Anastasia, and then see how it goes. Okay, so yeah, just would you, can you do initial prayer for us, please? No. Okay, Alex doesn't want to do initial prayer. Angela, how about you? Would you like to do initial prayer for us?
All right, no worries.
Okay, great. I love when people volunteer to do the prayers. And then after that, we're gonna have Colleen. Thank you.
So we close our eyes and elevate our thoughts to the Creator, thanking for the beautiful day we had and all the blessings we received during the day, during the week. We thank God for the possibility of being together here. And we ask our spiritual friends and guides to assist Colleen in her talk tonight. And be it.
Thank you, Angela. So, Colleen and Yvonne, up to you, girls.
What am I doing? That's fine. Okay. I am a bit unsure of the computer. So Sunny, that's me. I'm unsure of the computer. But it is so great to be amongst friends again tonight. Can I just say how blessed we are to be always given opportunity as we are to present, because it allows us to delve deeper into the depths of our being and to find peace in it all. Today, yesterday, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we were already starting to look at creativity. And that is the topic, of course, for tonight. Creativity is immensely complex. The heading for this evening's lecture was, what was it, Di? How to create beautiful, meaningful lives. I can't recall the exact topic, but from what I was given, it was
manifest the perfect word for you.
Manifest the perfect world for you. So can I just say, I text to Di before, it is folly for me, for us, to explore such a topic and to feel as if we have covered it. It is immensely personal for each of us to become conscious and aware of our presence in the universe, and to align ourselves with the being and the doing that will allow us to celebrate each moment of our lives. This I find not hilarious, but it is a possibility for us to explore tonight a few insights that have been passed on to us. And it is in that light that I ask each of us to once again to close our eyes and to center our beings. We are all divine, not a spark of the divine, but at our core, we are nothing but perfection. So as we close our eyes, lift up your right hand and sense your right hand. Do you sense it vibrating? Do you sense its presence? Now lift up your left hand. Feel its presence. Feel the vibration of life in it. Feel the vibration of life, the energy that is vibrating and beautiful and alive in both your hands. Now bring that sense of left and right to oneness. Find the vibration moving. Sense the vibration in your arms, in the trunk of your body, in your legs, and in your feet. And in your face, in your head. Breathing in and sensing the aliveness of you. Breathe in and breathe out. This is the breath of the universe. Our heart beats in and out. Our breath breathes in and out. And we have left all our thoughts behind. Our worries, our concern, our ego. Everything is dissolved into your breath, into the energy that pulsates in us. This is the stillness. And this stillness is that which helps us to balance our creativity. Our creativity in this life longs to be active, longs to be doing, longs to be purposeful. But then as night falls, we need to rest and we need to find our stillness and our connection to our core, which is God. Thank you. Yes. So this is really the basis for tonight. It is to explore creativity in our own sense of experience in this world. We all feel as if we want to be, hello, Jackson. We all feel as if we are, as human beings, we want to experience, we want to taste, we want to build, we want to create, we want to live. And this is the doing, this is the creativity in our lives. What we choose to do, what we choose to say, what we choose to involve ourselves in. This is all part of the creativity. And we as human beings are compelled to create because this is the universe. The universe asks of us, God asks of us to find, to explore, to be one with life, but to explore it at the same time. So each of us in our own way are given opportunity in our own unique perspective, because each of us has a perspective. Each of us has a thought process. We are each of us exploring the universe and affected and maturing as we find our way. This is creativity. It is natural for us to want to create. But in its essence, most of creativity that we explore comes from a place of ego. And we understand this because of the motivations that we have to want to do this. So, for example, we want to be more. We want to see more. We want to be better. We want to, your words always echo in my heart. We are wanting to be great and we are not there yet. This comes from the human sense. And it is not the being sense, but the human sense, the human dimension of the human level of ego that comes from a lack or a sense of lack, a sense of neediness. And it is if we explore the world and explore our creativity with a sense of neediness. It may not be that we have neediness or lack in the forefront or the forethought. We are not always aware, but it is in our background that we always want to be more, to show more, to achieve more, to create better, to be kinder, to be more compassionate, to be more of this or that, which reflects that we are needy. And it is, I sense it is time for me to just open the PowerPoint to explore just one or two things as being put forward by, go forward, this one. The pleasures of the soul tells us, and this is where we started in our what is it, our research, if you like to call it that. If I like to call it that, yes, I will call it that. If God, the pleasures of the soul by Hamed says, God is not separate in immeasurable space. And God is not unknown to man, but innate in nature herself. God is, in general, eternal and transcendent light in the evolutionary and creative process of all that exists in the universe. So if God is innate in nature, which is the universe, which is in each of us, then God is at the core of who we are, not a divine spark, but at the core. What are we doing here? One more. Go back. Go back. This button. Okay, sorry. We're missing a slide. One moment, please. And in the Spirit's book, from the answer to question 259, the Spirits tell us that God is the causal agent or internal and active force, the internal and active force that governs each of us, that governs everything that exists. The celestial causality is at the same time the force which transcends and is inseparably contained in the core of every living thing. This for me is incredibly powerful because each time we meet, we question our divinity. We all say, yes, yes, but oh, look at Gandhi, and oh, look at Jesus, and Muhammad too, and all of those guys. Wow, so much more than we could ever be. But is God choosy as to who God wants to be at the fore or wants to be an underling? I present to you that each of us has in our inner being the core of all that is perfection. So when I'm changing slides here. No, I'm not. So before we go on, Hamed implores us, asks us to rediscover, but there is a need for mankind to rediscover and also celebrate the constant revival of the supreme power in the living world in which we exist. So there's a need to celebrate the supreme power which is in each of us. If we celebrate, but we celebrate with a sense of, oh, but I am only a menial human, then the celebration of the divine is lackluster. It is not true. It is fake. And it is because of this that Hamed asks us to look at creativity, to find a way to celebrate. And for the last one here, Hamed also tells us that evolutionary creativity is not a privilege of human beings. It is a common cosmic process to everything that exists. So we are all gifted with the opportunity, because we are alive, for that own fact that we are given life to celebrate, and that our evolution, our creativity, our choices, our whatever it is that we are wanting to experience in this life, that it is evolutionary and that it is all purposeful. So as I mentioned before, aligning the being and the doing, the being, that which is at our core, and the doing, which is what we want to create in this lifetime. There are, of course, many ways, but I wanted to explore this particular line of thought that explores that there are at least two dimensions that the human being embodies. And the first dimension is surface dimension, or the human dimension. That is the doing and the thinking, the experiencing, the acquiring, the gaining. That is primarily what humankind does. But the being aspect of his human being is the deeper level of being, or the depth dimension. And it requires for each of us to get in touch with our conscious being and to question our motivation for our choice of words, for our interactions with people. Why is it that we are nurturing some and not others? Why are we going down a path to find fulfillment in some things and not others? What are the depths that we explore in one thing and not the other? Why is it that we are not elated in the doing process, but only elated or relieved or celebrating only in the end product? So this is the questioning motivation, the reasoning that we have. This is part of our conscious being aware, standing above ourselves and asking, what is going on with our human experience? This allows us then to go deeper, which then leads you to source, or to your divine self. Eckhart Tolle tells us that the universe needs, or it craves, the creativity of mankind. The creativity not only of mankind, but the creativity of the world itself. But it also needs the stillness. It is not enough for humans to be in constant creation mode without reuniting with source consciousness, the divine within. So it is that we ask ourselves what it is. We have mosquitoes here, sorry. The primary importance of being in touch with our divine self is to help us to guide us, to show us that there is and that there can be fulfillment in every step that we take. This is hard to imagine when our society focuses on outcomes. We seem to devalue the present moment. We place all of our expectations, our purposes is to, say, for example, to make them happy, or to make this a grand presentation so that I will be elevated, or that I will seem to be knowledgeable, or that I will be seen not to have slacked off this week. Connecting to our divine light helps us to see that every step of the way can be, what is the word? Intuitive, not forced, inspired. If we stop and see ourselves in the process of doing and ask ourselves, what is driving me to do this right now? Is it fear? Is it longing for acceptance? Is it that I want to create more of a calming effect in the world? Or I want to be able to give more because I know that Jesus has taught us to give more. And so I am basically wanting to be a part of that process that brings peace and love to the world. Can you see that the underlying, motivation here is ego-centered? It is all about helping us to feel good about ourselves. This, of course, is marvelous. This, of course, is going to be fulfilling for a short time. But we are then finding that we are unfulfilled again. That the luster, the shine on the feeling that we have when we accomplish something, or that we do something great, or that we are able to produce something that helps another, the shine wears off after a while. This is the litmus test, isn't it? We almost fill up on feeling good when we do something for others. So what is the motivation here? Is it because we are connected to divine light and know that all is good? That we are not even holding intention so much as connecting with the presence and being led by what divine light is showing us? Or are we motivated by that sense of feeling good because we know that it is the right thing to do, because we are taught that to love is the right thing, to speak of love, to use words that if we are consciously doing it, it is the litmus test that shows us that we are stuck still in our ego. So I ask for each of us tonight to not be despondent, because we in general are motivated by that feel-good sensation when we know we are contributing to the good. But please know that these feelings often wane. I myself have shared much with others to to sit with others, to share in their pain, to share in their story, and to assist them in some way to shed light or to share with them something that has been intuitively shared with me to share. Boy, I feel great afterwards. That is the high that I feel, because I know that somewhere, somehow in the other, a drop of goodness, a drop of some kind of connectedness has assisted them to find their way. But in recent times, of course, we are in isolation. We live very recluse lives. Have I felt like I wasn't being of purpose or helping others as much as I could do? Do I have that feeling of lack or neediness to feel better about my place in this universe? Sometimes, yes. The motivation I know comes from an ego base. And this in itself is okay. For it is in reflection that I know that I need to return to source, to reconnect the dots, to find my path back to my inner self, to my inner goodness, to my inner divine light, to know that all is good. And that in this time of self-isolation or family isolation, that it is an opportunity for me to be creative with an alternative way to connect with others. To connect with others sometimes needs that gratification, doesn't it? We need to see their faces. We need to touch their hands to know that they appreciate who we are and what we are doing, and to see what we have accomplished, to sense that we have contributed to their lives. But these times of uncertainty, I sense it is for all of us to stop and say, what is my motivation to being creative in this world? Do we want to feed our ego, to continue to boost our idea of who we want to be and what we want to become, or what we want to see ourselves, or what we want others to see us to be? Is this what we want to perpetuate, to keep going? Or can we at this moment, I sense it is time for all of us to sit quietly and say, it's all okay. I am enough because everything within me is perfection. And out of this perfection, we find that we act from the energy that is immense, the energy that is divine. This energy is to be called by so many the source of our creativity, the source of our creativity that is everlasting and not short lasting. What is that? Short lived. Thank you, Sunny. Yes, yes. So it is that we cannot blame ourselves, but we are given opportunity this night to ask ourselves, what is our motivation for creativity? If we base our sense of motivation on the outcome, and how it is received by others, how it is going to be received by ourselves, we will continually be disappointed. Maybe he didn't like the dinner that I made, and so I am disappointed. I put so much effort in, oh, I am disappointed. I'm disappointed in me, I'm disappointed in him, I'm disappointed in life. If we do something to support another and they didn't respond in the way that we wanted, we are perturbed, we are disturbed. Our joy is short-lived because the outcome was not as we predicted. In these situations, we are given now opportunity to say, okay, let's check each time that we are given an idea, an inspiration to do something, to give something, to be something for another. Let us call into question why we are doing it. And the why shouldn't stop us doing it. If we feel that it is motivated by ego, then let's go deeper. Let us pause to think, what is motivating me and why isn't divine light the one that is coming forth? Why are we stopping or choking this source of our true energy? If it is divine in its inspiration and its motivation, then it will surpass and be transcendent for anything that is what Jackson will resonate with. It will be free of attachment. Yes. Divinity as the motivation allows for each of us to breathe and to go within. And not to say deeply a prayer to say, I want this to happen. Or may love soften his heart because he is in pain. Or anything like that. That is motivated by our sense of judgment of what he or she needs. But let us go within. Connect with divinity and know that all is good. That we are being presented with an opportunity to be inspired to do something, to be active, but not motivated by ego, but allowing the breath, the stillness to guide us as to what is required. But at all times being present with our divinity, with the core that is God. Yes, yes. I can't say that it is anything different that I am presenting tonight. Creativity is an opportunity for us all to show the world that we are a remarkable specimen of divinity, that we are all in our billions in a different and unique facet of life, exploring life, treating life as something magnificent and not just the end product of everything that we do. The test, once again, in a creative process if we get tired of the process and all we want is for the project to come to an end, then we know that we are sitting in ego. If we are getting despondent and getting, what can I say, irritated by disruptions, irritated by the blockages, irritated or upset because it's not turning out the way that I wanted, these are sure signs that we need to stop and say, hey, we are in it for love. We are in this because we are experiencing the gift of life with God at our core. Experiencing the emotions, yes. It may be hard. It may be challenging. But each of us is given opportunity to smile at the process, which has so often been devalued because the outcomes are what others want to see, what we can show others, how we can justify our time, how we can justify our study, how we can justify the time spent, how we can justify why we haven't done something because we wanted to focus on this particular project, but it isn't coming to fruition. All of these things are certainly tests of our ego. But if we, as we started at the beginning of the presentation today, coming together and sensing the stillness, but the aliveness of our being, and the being itself will guide us. Eckhart Tolle speaks so beautifully. He is so expressive in face, in body, and in his words. He speaks of an example of when soccer players, there was a research, a great research done on penalty shootouts, and the research was on when the whistle blows for the soccer player to shoot the penalty goal. It was found that those that achieved greater possibility or probability of scoring a goal in a penalty shootout was the player that allowed for 3 or 4, 5 or 6 seconds at least to pass after the whistle was blown to then shoot the goal. The pressure for a penalty shootout is massive because it may be the deciding factor in the game. So the pressure on the player is immense. The pressure from his team, the pressure from the nation, the pressure from the world who are looking on. So how does the pressure release? How does the inner chatter and the stress on the player release? If not for the player to pause, to go within, and to find the energy and the strength from source to still his mind, his or her mind, to still the chatter, to still the emotional stress and strain, and to find it within. To be that which needs to be at that given time. This doesn't mean that we all have that ability. If I go within and spend that time connecting with divine light, that I will be able to kick a goal. That is not what it's about. I am also able to go within to connect with our divinity, which is consciousness, but one consciousness, consciousness of the universe. But still, I will not be able to draw out of that consciousness, out of that insight. I will not be able to solve the problems of relativity, the laws of relativity, nor will I be able to give you what it is exactly that you need at any given time. For it is in each of us to develop in our everyday a vessel, a vehicle to be creative. So do we need to develop research or understandings of the world around us? Do we need to, or do we desire to study science or technology or nursing or whatever it is? It is in the practice of these interests that we have that we develop a vehicle of knowledge, a vehicle that will and be enabled and supported by the energy, the source energy that will allow us to give or to provide creative answers to the areas in which we involve ourselves. So there is a great need for us to marry that which is human, that which is at the surface level, to gather, to acquire, to develop. But then we need to marry that with our internal being, our inner being, our connectedness to, what is the word? Divine insight, divine source energy that will then allow us to be able to maybe even create something that is new to the world, that will be of benefit, not because of neediness, not because of lack, but because it is time. All things in this life, all things in the universe are perfect as they are, and everything is providential. So everything comes as it needs to come. But for us to live in a life that is disturbed by short-lived fulfillment, I forgot my sentence, but it is in each of us to know that we don't need to live in the ebb and flow or the high and low energies that we do experience on a day-to-day basis because we feel unfulfilled, because we feel a lack, because we feel neediness to be more appreciated, to be more loved, to be more than we are. This mantra that we keep repeating over and over again is killing our creative process. Yes. Yes. Is that shared? Oh, sorry. Can you see that, everybody?
No.
Okay, one moment, please. Okay. So can I recap? Don't create with the motivation that you come from neediness or lack, that you have to attract this or that into your life. Fulfillment will only be short-lived. It is when you become free of that feeling of lack or neediness that your doing can be fruitful, because it is no longer a self-serving doing. The self-serving is feeding your ego. So we have to ask ourselves, am I the historical person with a past and a future, someone with this physical body, with thoughts in my head and emotions that I feel? Or are we more than the story of our lives? Is there a deeper dimension? And in order to transcend, to go beyond your state of neediness or feelings of not being enough, of the ego, spiritual practice, spiritual realization is necessary. Focus on the realization of the presence of being. So much of what we say, so much of what we share here, even at our center, is based on knowledge that has been acquired, but not internalized. Because we fear that we are not doing enough. We fear that we are not spiritual enough. We fear that our prayers are not as good as someone else's. We feel that our energy source is depleted because we are lost. And so therefore we need to be better. We need to be. This is our ego talking. It is our humanness talking. And this is what I ask of you today, to go within and to release that, to stop downplaying your beingness, because your beingness is your godness. Hamed tells us that nothing can be considered mere chance. In the universe, there is providential purpose behind all things. So there is a time, maybe today is the time for each of us to begin to ask, what is motivating us? Is it our ego? And if it is our ego, then pull it into check and say, hang on, ego, you don't need to be here. Take a breath, a deep breath. Hold out your hand and sense the presence of your hand. Sense the energy in your hand. Go within and release the words. go into that state of what is it? It is non-conceptualization. Go to a place where there are no words and no forms. Free yourself of that and connect. Open your eyes and then connect with the presence and the divinity of everything and the beauty around us. The creativity of the world, the creativity of the flower, the creativity of the wind, the creativity of this moment, the creativity that is given and shared with you to but be present, to honor its presence, to honor our presence in the presence of it all. Yes, yes. Only then will we be free to infinitely create and to know that it's all good. Not because we're doing what we need to do, but we're connected to that which is not based on knowledge, which is not based on what we have been told, but because it is the source of who we are. Yes. Yes. How much over time am I? Yes.
It is, but it's okay. I think Jackson would like to say something. He raised his hand.
Sorry, Jackson. Yes.
What was that? I think it was a very good example of the penalty shooter. It's a preparation not to deal with it, and it's a preparation not to score, to be, not to increase the chances of score, but to deal with the outcome in both sides. The outcome, if miss, say it was just a kick, one needs to win, one needs to lose. I mean, that's a dichotomy that is inevitable at the end, unless there is this coincidence of never having a winner, and then you go to the coin, which is again another chance. But also to deal with the victory. So if you score, then okay, fine. But this recognition is also fade up. You need to deal with it. So yes, is that state of detachment from the outcome that is required, and it's not easy. It is not easy. I can tell you. I can be the one carrying the flag of detachment, but I am not an example of detachment because I can't recognize it. It's not easy.
But it is in each of us to release it, to find that our contributions in this life are never wasted, that all that we do and all that we experience is an exploration of life. The soccer player releases the need to produce an outcome because he is focusing on the science. He is focusing on that which is required at this moment. And he is led by his detachment of the need to score the goal, but to actually shoot the ball the best he can.
Yeah.
It is in that giving of his best, guided by the strength of divine light. Most would not call it divine light in the soccer realm, but they would suggest that they are going to the source of their being. And in that, inspiration arrives. Yes.
And so applies for the goalkeeper.
Yes, 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 yes. To close their eyes and to know that all is required is for them to be 100% present.
Yeah.
And in that presence, yes.
And that's take the pressure off God, because each of one of them asked God for help, you know, so God stay out of their way. So it's your responsibility to be present there.
But that is in asking. And in the asking is the ego.
Yeah.
It is releasing the ego to go within to find that source energy, which is non-conceptual. It is without a need, without a lack, without a desire, but to be totally present and to do what is required in that given moment. So God is not responsible. If we sense that his help will enable us, then we are calling out from a place of neediness. And that is ego-based. He has given us all that we need, all that we need. But it is in how we express that and whether we can draw upon source energy, because we are one with source energy, with God, to do what is required. Can I share an example if we have time, Di?
We do.
Okay.
Quick.
Recently, my parents had a fall, and both of them, and they both ended up in hospital next to each other in the emergency section of the hospital.
I see.
My mom fractured her
Collarbone?
up on her collarbone there, and also her humerus up on the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
But she was discharged from hospital because there was nothing that they could do. They, strapped, but they couldn't set. She was then sent home. But because my dad has a mild form of dementia, my mum really wasn't in a position to support him at home. And so my dad had to stay in hospital, even though he actually came off. He was the reason for why mum fell, but he was the one who had to stay in hospital. So he was there for 2 weeks in hospital. Mum was being supported at home by family and whatever. But because my dad now needs, because my mum can't support him at home, and she's now thinking that he will need to go into nursing care, he's now being put in, he had a placement in a temporary facility in a dementia ward. Mm-hmm. But he has a very, very small amount of dementia. And the people in the facility have quite advanced dementia. So when I called the other night, there was screaming, and I called, and the person from the ward took the telephone through the facility and to get it to my dad in his room. And there was terrible screaming and people in distress and people disoriented. And there's so much of this energy. And I'm feeling, oh my God, got to, speaking to Dad. And he said, oh, it's okay. He said, I think people have got their TVs turned up or something. But, you know, the following day and the following day after that, you know, he's saying he's feeling so bad. He said, I can't talk to anybody. Nobody can answer me. He said, there's only so many words or so many questions, sorry, that he can ask people. He's sitting at the same table and he's being very sociable as my dad is, and, you know, very, very, you know, happy, and nobody's speaking to him at all. And the other night, again, just more recently, I rang and he said, I can't talk. He said, I'm really upset. I can't talk to you right now. I'll call you tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So I rang my mum, knee-jerk response, you know, response to the whole situation. And we get drawn into that. And I was totally drawn into the whole emotional thing where he's being isolated for now 4 weeks in a ward, and now in a dementia ward, and separated from family, separated from loved ones. And I said, look, Mum, look, you're being looked after at home. Let Dad come to us and we will look after him. And I was taking it upon myself to actually promote that. And my mum didn't want him to be too far away from, she goes to see him every day. And she said, oh, I'll think about it. I'll think about it. And all I kept feeling was he shouldn't be there, you know. And my mum was saying too, you know, I go there and, you know, there are people who are, you know, with their dolls in their arms and they're sitting rocking in chairs. And she said, I'm really disturbed and I don't want him to be there either. But what is the answer? And I said, well, you know, he can come to us. We're set up for it. We have nurses. That was my response. Anyway, I put the phone down after talking to Mum. And Colleen said to me, she said, this is where he needs to be right now. You don't know his role in sitting at a table and smiling at another who has been forsaken by others, his family, their family. A smile, a touch of the hand. Upa or grandfather, my dad, is where he needs to be right now because he can be working miracles in the capacity that he can be. And it was so calming the way that it came through. It was a slap in my face, because my creativity, my contribution to the situation was to say, let's do it over here because we are set up. We can be creative. We can be whatever. We can problem solve this way. And it was, when I come to think of it, something very much from the ego. It was about how I can solve the problem. And yet I'm denying my dad the opportunity to be in a place where he feels isolated, yes. And he feels, I don't know what he feels. Many times he just doesn't share what he feels. But it is the universe that is not conspiring against each of us, but the universe that is working for us to allow us to, each of us, have a contribution to the creative nature of the world and to enhance other people's lives in a way that we don't expect even for ourselves. And here I was wanting to take that opportunity away from my dad, and Colleen's going, hold on. This is most certainly where he needs to be right now. The touch of a hand may melt the heart of somebody that he is with who is disoriented and who is pained by isolation or whatever it is, or by their fogginess in their minds as they're going through, you know, the final stages of their lives. And for him to be there, how marvelous for him to be there. So anyway, I wanted to share that. Yes.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you, Yvonne. What you're saying, I think it's I don't want to get too long because we are past a bit, but I believe sometimes it is hard for us to identify that, you know, because you as a daughter maybe wants to give your father the best as you could because you have the possibility, and to waste that situation, have this freedom, not freedom, this inspirational, you know, to think about that, about you are taking away something from him, when on the other hand it comes from a place that you might want to give something that you think is better. It's a very delicate line to kind of, you know, interpret. Yeah, well, it was a beautiful night and a lot of beautiful things come out. Thank you so much.
I agree. Actually, I agree with you, Dai, in regards to the interpretation. As you said, everything is all right. And one of the probably experiences you needs to experience was the resignation. Resignation in the sense of accepting the situation, but also fighting to change it. So in the same sense that you or Yvonne fight for Colleen, when Colleen was misregarded by the doctors and by everybody, you were in a place of fight, but you may say, you may have as well thought or inspired to say, no, this is what Colleen needs to go through. Do you know what I mean? It's a dichotomy that, or an interpretation that then we needed to ask for inspiration, divine inspiration, to actually go through, to find out what is your desire, what I need to go, I need to do the best, either to resignate, to accept, or either to fight with all my, you know, tenacity to change the situation, because probably this is what I need to do. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's a really fine line. Yeah, you really have to say, hey, God, help here.
Yes, yes. Did you want to say? Yes. The point where we recognized that it was Mum's ego was when we recognized her pain.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that is the ego, because she wanted it to be otherwise. Mm. For the energy to come through to fight or to pursue a creative solution, that happens without a sense of pain, rather than a sense of connectedness and inspiration and joy, because there is possibility. And so the energy is different when we approach a possibility.
Yeah.
If we choose it in pain, then we know, or in anguish, or in consternation, or in anger, then we know that it is coming from a source of ego. But if we release it and ask what is required, yes, we need to pursue this and we need to be calm, because these individuals are not foolish. They are not ignorant. They are not anything other than presenting us with an opportunity to explore what is to come in a creative and loving way. Yes.
I think the preparation, mainly, it's in the same situation for the goalkeeper, the shooter, is the preparation to face the outcome. So if the outcome goes against our expectation, we should manage our expectation and accept it. As I said, an experience, again, everything is all right. Even if I don't like it.
Yes, yes.
Everything is in its own place. And this is the way of trying to get detached. Sometimes it hurts a lot, but we need to go over it. We do as much as we can pursuing our beliefs. And this is part of the divine law of surviving, of preservation, self-preservation. This is, I think, one of the biggest emotions, engines, power that we have to fight for what we believe. But if you lose, then we need to take off that. Like in jiu-jitsu, which is the Brazilian fight, use the power of the other to leverage you. So the power of losing, the power of not coming to the outcome we wanted, should be reversed on lesson, on learning, on understanding everything is right and in its right place.
Yes.
Yeah. Probably.
Yes, the outcomes is something that is possible or probable or whatever it is, but it is fictitious to the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
So what is being asked, I sense, is to focus on the present, and then all will be revealed, whatever that is. The focus may be the end product, the goal may be one thing, but how it is to manifest will be determined by our presence in this moment. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Colleen, it was a very great topic, and I think we could go on and on.
Sorry. Yes.
No, that's all right. Like the good thing is that we at Zoom, we're not the place that we have time to close the community center. That's the good thing about Zoom. We can steal over a bit without getting in trouble with the law of the dance. But if I could ask you to finalize, maybe with a bit of short prayer, so we don't hold people too long again.
I get it. A short one is good. Yes.
A short one, yes, just to finalize the night. And it was great. And I really hope just maybe draw send energy of love and light for your father over there and your mom as well, so they can recover well. And soon after they finish their own journey where they have to be by the time, they can be together again.
Thank you.
And on their family house, and enjoy the company again. And your father don't make your mom fall again.
Thank you.
Okay.
Let us all calmly release the energy of excitement, the prospects of life, the prospects of creativity is a marvelous gift. And we connect with all those that are present. And thank you for your patience. We thank you for your generosity. We thank you for your braveness, for coming, for many of you, to find some kind of solace, some kind of answer, some kind of comfort. We thank all those that have brought us to this point in time, to be able to share in the light of life, in the creativity and the gift that is life, that is all that is. Dear Creator, Lord of all things, we cannot be not impressed. How can we not be impressed by everything that is being shown to us? We are uplifted in light. We are uplifted in love. And we share in this light and love with all those in the world that are part of this oneness. We share in their pain and their suffering. We share in their joys. We share in all that is. and we commit ourselves to this connection, to be uplifted and not to be drawn into the ego-centered side of life, but to be uplifted by your love that is at the core of our being. We breathe in peace and release it all in love. We thank you all in love and light. Amen.
Thank you
All right.
so much, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Alexander. Bye, Alexander.
Very nice.
See you, Angela.
Bye. Have
Bye.
a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Anna. Bye, Carmen. Bye, Carmen. Bye.